Well, kids, welcome to another episode of Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk, all the way from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. From the band 616, I have Mr. Matthew Lidwin. How you doing, sir?
It's doomy and gloomy out, but yeah, that's how I like it. I think it's fantastic when I can pick up my guitar and write some doom and gloom on the guitar and write some love music while the weather is totally fucking shit. So how are you doing there?
I'm good, man. You know, we're getting some good weather. So it's not raining. It hasn't rained for a little bit, so we'll take it. So this is long overdue. We had a couple of misfires, but here we are. So I get the presser from my friend and yours, Raquel, and
Yeah. She's awesome, man. Raquel's awesome.
yeah. So she sent me some info. It was the official video for the morning. Give me the background on that, Matthew.
All right. Well, morning I wrote the song back when I was 16, but I never brought it to fruition and years and years. I don't know. I just wanted to go kind of like back to the roots and take something that I created. I wrote all the song. I wrote everything, and then also there's members of a band from Canada. They were called Woods of April and also Gates of Winter, and they got on the track, and I think we did a fantastic job on it. And the music video was shot by Eddie Curran, and also it was also recorded by Eric LaBrosse at Cherry Pit Studio in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. And yeah, I don't know. It's been quite a journey, man. Things are starting to pop, and I want to make a huge announcement soon, because there's a man by the name of Bill Aballo from the band Hit, and we are going to be doing songs together. So we can talk about that.
Okay, well, so we'll get to that in a second. So you record this song, a couple of guys from Canada, yourself. I'm assuming that it was done by modern technology, and that file sharing and them going to a studio, or did you have them down there and they did it right where you were at?
It was jump back and forth type deal. Yeah, it was sort of jump back and forth, but the original recording, I did everything. But the recording that is up with the music video is, it's kind of, it's file sharing, I guess, and I hate saying that, but not like we're recording the tape like we did at some studio. But my guys, it's pretty cool. They're fantastic people, awesome dudes, and I've always had people kind of how can I say without me sounding like a sucking asshole. The people work for me, and it's great, and I can't be more thankful in the world, because when I was out in Memphis, Tennessee, it taught me a goddamn lesson. I'll tell you about that, about when you get to actually record at one of the most legendary studios in the United States.
Yeah, and of course that's Sun Studios, where some guy by the name of Elvis Presley recorded, among others. So talk about that a little bit, because how long were you there? What was that process like? How did that all go down?
Well, I was there. I got in. It was on my birthday. Well, I think a day before my birthday, and all my guys came in, and there was a total ice storm, dude. I've never seen anything like I live in Wisconsin, and I've seen some ice storms, but I've never seen anything like that. And when we were in Memphis, it was just happening right when we were there. We had to cancel the first day at Sun Studio, and it was amazing. Daniel Crockett Hall, great producer who works at Sun Studio, great, fantastic guy. Also, Eric LaBrosse, my producer here from Milwaukee, he flew in as well. And and then we had Brian of Woods of Ukraine. Then we also had my, I had a lot of people come in, and also Cam DeWald of the band, metal band, Gorgatron, come in. And then we had my buddy JR, who plays in Resting Place, and he plays in the metal band. And we just all made it work, and then we sat on the couch inside of our Airbnb, and we wrote Shatter My Love, and we had 2 brand new songs within maybe 20 minutes to maybe 60 minutes, maybe an hour, and then we just hauled ass to the studio. And it was great. Bam Margera was actually supposed to be there, but he couldn't make it, sadly.
Well, so, and I mean, you go to a place like that, and obviously you're on the clock, and, there's time, there's money, there's resources. In terms of the recording and the process itself, was it fairly quick for you guys?
Well, here's the thing about Sun Studio. You go when you walk in the Sun Studio, they do tours during all day. So, you don't start recording and moving equipment until around 7 p.m. at night. And then you record to maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, and then you got to set it all back up to look exactly like the classic look is. But it was great, man. And we've worked, and my favorite thing about the whole experience about Sun Studio, man, is that I got to hold it and play Elvis Presley's guitar and also Johnny Cash's guitar, and I got to give Elvis's suit a couple cigars. And not many people can say that, and it was fantastic. I had the best time. And the producer, Daniel Crockett Hall, when I said spin tape, I mean, you're cutting fucking real tape at Sun Studio. You don't get that sound anywhere else.
So I guess what you're saying is it's a throwback in terms of the technology there and what you work on. Is that accurate?
Somewhat, yeah. So their machines. I always did digital and shit, and I was always somewhat, in some songs I'd be the producer would overdo my vocals and stuff like that, and take all these takes and, all this shit. And when I went to Sun Studio, we did all that shit in, I think, one or 2 takes, man. And that was it. I mean, that's how we went for the prize. And, I don't know, it was different. I think we should play a 616 song, though.
Well, you know what? We will probably definitely do that when we post this. What we're going to do right now, we're going to take a little break. We're going to pay some bills. We're going to come back with Matthew Lidwin after this. Welcome back to Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. I'm here with Matthew Lidwin from 616. So the band, I guess, you might as well say, is technically based out of Milwaukee. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yeah, we're based out of Milwaukee. I've been a singer-songwriter, but that's just how I do it. And there's been a lot of band movement, band members in and out, type deal. But I've worked with some of the best people in the game, and it's an honor to be on this show, man. On this podcast because Raquel is putting us in touch. This is fantastic. I'm grateful for you having me on this podcast, and people are gonna love this one because if you need any crazy some stories that me and Bam Margera had shared together, you were more than welcome to ask.
You're talking Bam from Jackass fame.
Yeah, Bam from Jackass and CKY.
Well, hey, you know what? Do tell, because he's been in the news the last little while. But he's one of those guys where I actually saw them. I don't think he was with them, but there were some of the Jackass guys. They did a live show up here in Halifax at a local cabaret a number of years ago, and those guys were just absolutely nuts.
Yeah, basically, I grew up with, how can I say, his aunt was named Booth, and she took me in when I was 17. I'm 31 now, and she heard my record when I brought it. I just told myself, fuck high school. I left high school, signed myself up, got on an airplane, said fuck my fast food job, obviously, and said, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my music heard by Ben Margera. And then I'm sitting there after I get back. He wasn't there at the time. But I did talk to his mom, April, and I did talk to his dad, Phil. And they're like the nicest, kindest people around, the Margera family. They're the nicest people.
And that would that have been before or after he started doing all those crazy kind of surprise tricks with his mother and father?
Dude, all I can tell you is you ever hear that thing called a love sack that weighs like a lot, and he pulled pranks on me as well. I pulled pranks on him. He's I looked at, and but the best thing about him is he never judged anybody. He never was a mean person. Never in his entire life. He sure there were things that me and him would get into, like a little bit of rascalness and fucking get pissed off at each other. But I started to see something come out of that guy, and it wasn't good because he was fucking my sister.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, and then that all ended, and then it kind of turned sour between me and him. But I still love him to death. I'm just waiting for him. I'm just waiting for that call again, I guess. But anything past that, that's all right. I really hope people enjoy this show because it really talks about all the real truth of what happened.
Yeah, for sure.
And,
so.
Yeah, and
Well, I was just going to say, so in terms of the band here for a second, so you mentioned a couple guys from Canada. So now what's going to go on in terms of live shows? And, will there be some live shows? You guys going to go out there and do some stuff? How does that going to all shake down for you?
Yeah. So how it's going to first start. I've been waiting to play and take the stage. I think it's been like 3 years now. So what's going to happen is I do rehearsals at Cherry Pit Studios in Menominee Falls, owned by Eric LaBrosse. We are going to do our first live performance in Cherry Pit Studios. And then we start all of our shows in October. I think we're going to do up to 10 to 14 dates. And it's all going to be, there's going to be 4, because people have been waiting for me to take the stage again here in Milwaukee, because, this is like where I founded every, 616, Eden and all that stuff. And there's a lot of cool goth rock bands like Haunter, Lockjaw, and a lot of cool artists that are coming on here. And it's going to be fun, man, because I haven't taken the tour bus in a while. So.
Well, so in terms of Milwaukee, what's your scene like in Milwaukee? In terms of you guys, I guess, bill yourself as a goth band, but what's the overall scene like there?
Shit.
So I mean, there's very few places now that I talk to people that they go, oh, their scene's amazing, and I don't exactly know why that is, but is it lack of venues? What's the issue?
It's usually like the same 40 people going to the same bars every single night with screaming. I love metal music. I'm a huge fan of metal, but it's like usually like people still two-stepping, and I just don't even go up anymore. I just fucking find a way. Like I'm over it, and the fucking you got to deal with all the guys that think they're the hardest asses in the fucking world, and I fucking hate Milwaukee. That's all I'm gonna say. Because I've seen it all, I've done it all, and the only thing I can say is that we make a lot of good beer.
Oh yeah, well, you always got to find a silver lining, right?
Yeah, right. And there's a lot of good breweries around here. There's fantastic food places you can eat at. But once you go through all this, it's you just kind of you get bored. I mean, but they're right. But we also do. It's called Summerfest, and tons of huge bands come here. I think like Limp Bizkit or something was just here or some shit. And I'm not a fan of them, but a lot of big bands come through here, and Summerfest, I think, is one of the biggest festivals that is thrown in the United States, because we have the U.S. Cellular stage, we have Army stages, and the Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson is from Milwaukee, and there's just always something going on. But like Aerosmith just played down the road. Like I was like, what the hell is this? Like, what? Are you serious? Yeah, and I could hear him from my house, and I was just like, wow, that was pretty dang cool.
There you go. All right, my friend, we're going to take one more break, and we're going to be back.
Okay.
Matthew Lidwin after this. Welcome back to Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk, all the way from a wonderful, I guess, rainy Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Matthew Lidwin from 616. So, yeah, you mentioned you're going to get back on a bus again. So what types of, I guess, what's that 10 to 14 shows looking like? Where are you guys going to hit? Where are you going to go?
4 shows Milwaukee, I think 2 Illinois, 1 in Indiana, 1 in Ohio. I want to get to, I'm working with the booking agent right now, and the booking agent, like I said, he's out of the United Kingdom, and he's a great guy. He's booked a lot of the Misfits guys, and Doyle, you name it, and he's helping us out, and he's gonna get me back on the road. And it's going to be pretty crazy, because I've been waiting to take that stage, and I just want to see smiles and all those girls screaming again. That's for what we want to do. And we changed the style of the band. The style of the band isn't what a lot of people were used to. It was more like a Billabong hymn type deal going on. Now it's kind of like it's kind of like if Villa Vallo made a baby with Elvis Presley and fucked Ozzy Osbourne.
Well, there you go. Well, and when I listen to The Morning, I mean that billed as goth, but I mean really it could be rock, it could be almost metal, it could be alternative, definitely not emo, because I mean emo is one of those things to me that's kind of like I was never a fan of that, but it's hard to place the influences.
I guess but when I was a kid, I always wanted to be Neil Peart, and that's how I learned to jump. And and then I also listened to Geddy Lee from Rush.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, I want to be just exactly like Rush. I had a Rush birthday cake and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. And then I was just like, well, I also like Queen's music, so I listened to Queen, and then my dad gave me Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath, the record.
Yeah.
And when I heard the dun, dun, what is this that stands before me? And when I heard that, I was like, I gotta go goth rock. There's nothing that's gonna change me after I heard that record. And that was the first record that they came out with, I think. And they were, you know. I also did get a call from Ozzy Osbourne. From his son Jack.
Okay.
Very nice people, and all that Jack said, he said, I really like your music, and that basically, my dad likes your music. And I was like, I'm sitting in a fucking hotel room in New Berlin, Wisconsin, and I get that call. And I thought it was a joke. I thought it was all bullshit. And I was like, oh my God, man. Like, you know, like, the Prince of Darkness is, you know, having the son call me. And it sounded just like Ozzy, just like when he was off TV. And he was so kind, so kind. And I was like half hungover, and I just couldn't believe it, you know, because, you know, I put those records on my wall and stuff like that. So what's up with you, man? So tell me how you got this podcast going. Tell me about. I want to hear about you. I don't want to just keep talking about myself here.
Well, it is an interview with you, but this podcast actually started by accident, man. You know, up here in Canada, we were in the same boat as everybody else, where we weren't allowed to do anything. I had a little radio show, and I decided to start interviewing some of my musician friends, figuring, hey, 5 weeks we'll be back out playing again. And, you know, that happened, and then it didn't happen, then it happened, then it didn't happen, and finally, you know, we were back. But in the span of about a year and a half, we went from interviewing local people to interviewing like Todd Zuckerman from Styx and Liberty DeVito from, you know, Billy Joel and Eric Martin from Mr. Big. And, you know, we really started hitting some neat things, and then we started getting picked up by Blabbermouth on a regular basis. And the next thing you know, we're getting calls from, you know, wonderful folks like, you know, Raquel saying, hey, I've got an artist, would you talk to them? And that's pretty much how it's gone. It's been great, man. And, you know, between playing and the podcast, it certainly keeps me busy.
Well, that's fantastic news, man. I mean, that's great. I give you a big hug and a high five right now.
Well,
I mean, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. You're keeping rock and roll alive, and that's very important. A lot of people listen to the radio and shit these days, and it's like, fucking, what are we gonna listen to, man? You want to play Miley Cyrus's fucking track next? You know, like, fuck that shit. You know.
Well, and I mean,
people need to be, you know, people need to be told about this, because to this generation, they don't listen to a lot of, you know, music that's been that you know, that was done in like the 60s, 70s, you know, shit like that, and it's kind of like, well, at least I grew up on that stuff. I mean, that was, you know, that's the best music you can listen to. You know, you grow up on rock and roll and metal. You really want to hear the real stuff, you go back and listen. Now people are listening. They're more worried about the goddamn fucking Barbie movie, you know, than anything else. And I'm like, man, this is not the way of the way of how people should be acting. And I think it's fucking disgusting. I think it's terrible, because now every fucking kid out there is watching this goddamn Barbie movie and fucking Ken and all that shit. Is gonna be like, oh, I was fun kid, and now these fucking guys are probably gonna turn into fucking perverts or something. Don't even get me started, Sean. It's bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but you know, it's definitely you know, different times, different things are sort of bubbling up. But I mean, music is it's always cycles, right? Like you know, you'll go through. So if I take, you know, grunge as an example in the 90s, right? That seemed to have a run of about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years solid. And really, in my opinion, they were kind of redoing what Sabbath was doing in the 70s, just in a different way, right? But the whole idea for me that, you know, I'm super successful and I hate my life just never flew with me. Alice in Chains was great, Soundgarden was great, but that time for me wasn't super awesome. But then they came out of that cycle, and unfortunately, there was some of that stuff that in the 2000s, you had to deal with. But I think we've kind of turned another corner with some of the rock stuff, and there's some cool stuff coming out. But I think you're also seeing some of the classic guys back at it again and doing their thing, right? So I think that's kind of cool. Pantera.
What about? Did you ever look? Yeah, Pantera's back, and my friend just saw him the other day.
Yeah.
He just saw Pantera in Canada, and he was having a blast. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool, Did you ever hear the band Local H out of Chicago?
I have not.
Oh, there's a great song called "Creature Comfort," and they were so good. Two-man band, but they really pulled it, and I think they still rock today. I haven't looked too much up into them, but there's so much rock and roll out now. I'm kind of jealous of the drummer of Slipknot, to be honest.
Oh yes, Jay Weinberg.
Yeah, because he was a huge fan, and then he became their drummer. I was like, wow, that's really cool. I think that's really cool because the guy flies. I mean, he absolutely flies. But,
stuff like that is cool. And I'll tell stuff like that is cool, and I'll tell you why. Because and he had, I guess, in a sense, a bit of a leg up. He was in the business because his father obviously played for Bruce Springsteen. But it is cool that whole. It just seems like everybody's coming out of nowhere, but I don't necessarily think it's the case. There's too much YouTube going on where, people are posting stuff, and everybody thinks everybody's getting famous by posting on YouTube, and that's a bit of a fallacy.
Yeah. Well, you always see all these videos of people making fake stuff and shit, and it's like whatever. I got better things to listen to, but I want to talk a little bit about VP, Bill Bobble from the band Him.
Okay.
So I ended up getting a phone call, and it was his manager, and they said that he would sing on a song with me. And I said, well, I got to write the best song in the world. This is going to push me to my limits to write the best song in the world. I've also worked with his bandmates Gas Lipstick, and Gas Lipstick drummer Him. Great guy. Great, fantastic dude. And everything's starting to kick off for 616 now. And now what I have to do is just get on that road and put out some good shows, put out more good songs. And can I say my thank yous to everybody who's worked with me?
Absolutely.
I'd like to thank Gas Lipstick. I'd like to thank Bam Margera. I'd like to thank the whole Margera family. Chad Ginsberg of CK1, Jess Margera of CK1. I would also like to thank my friend Joshua Glass. I would also like to thank Brian Below of Woods of Ypres. Fantastic band out of Canada. And I'd also like to thank all my band members that are working against me. Not working against me, but working with me. Stephen Wolf. He's fantastic at drums. I'd also like to thank just everyone who's worked with me in the past, 20 years, I guess. And and I also want to give a big shout out to someone. His name is Kyle Pereira from Cleopatra Records.
Nice.
And his dad, Brian Pereira. And I'd also like to give a big thank you to Raquel. Raquel rocks. That's why I call her Rocky Raquel. And she's the one that put me in touch with you, obviously.
Yep.
And she's fantastic. And Yeah, I guess, why don't we end this,
Well, I was just gonna say, Matthew. We got to wrap. But where are my? Well, this will be a listening one, but which is fine. But where are my viewers / listeners going to find out more about 616?
well, we are all over the internet. So all you have to do is just look up the number 616 and type in the word Matthew Lidwin, and you'll find everything by what I do.
Well, fantastic, sir. Look, I want to thank you for doing this. It was a lot of fun. We didn't get it done the way we wanted to. Maybe we'll come back for another revisit when internets are working. But I want to thank you for your time. This was a lot of fun, and let's stay in touch. I want to hear more about what you're doing.
Yeah, dude. Let's keep cutting it up. I always say this little term that I always say. I'll be cutting it up a hound dog. And I also want to say thank you to Daniel at Sun Studio. And I don't know, what song should we play by 616? Let's do Cinderella Valentine.
Cinderella Valentine. We'll get that on when we get the podcast all put together.
All right, sounds good to me, Matt. And thank you, Sean, for having me on this. This means the world to me, man.
Appreciate it.
And,
we'll chat with you all soon.
All right.
Peace.
All right. See you later. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Matthew Lidwin has left the building.